Are you able to survive the wild side of Denver, Colorado? Now, it's not like we have bears or mountain lions just roaming around the neighborhoods, but sometimes we do get deer, squirrels, and rabbits and things like that. But you gotta at least tolerate these things, or at least get used to these things that I'm gonna be showing you with this video. The top 6 things you need to know, or at least survive, when you live and move to Denver, Colorado. Getting right into it, the first thing that I thought of when I thought about surviving here in Denver is getting used to the snow or ice during the winter time. Ice is the main downside here, and snow is actually pretty fun to play with, especially if you're used to skiing, snowboarding, snowmobiling, or whatever. Of course, if you're an ice skater too, you might enjoy ice more. The point is, driving here in Colorado specifically can be very treacherous because of the ice, and more specifically, the black ice. And if you're not familiar with black ice, usually it's when snow falls during the day and the sun hits it and it starts to melt, but then overnight it gets below freezing temperatures, and then the water that was running off freezes and it becomes transparent, which matches the asphalt on the road, and it's really hard to see when you're driving on the road. So black ice. Usually HOAs and jurisdictions of the city or towns take really good care of the roads, especially the major roads, wherever you are in the greater Denver area. But it's not to say that you shouldn't be watching out for this stuff. And I would just be extra careful if you don't have the official Colorado vehicle, the Subaru, or just a 4-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive. You don't need to get a Subaru. There's just a lot of people with Subarus here. Personally, I don't go out too much during the summertime. It just gets hecka cold out here, and for those people that live in the Sunbelt areas like Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and the South, it's just really hard to get used to the snow. And with me living in San Diego for 30 years and then coming to Denver, it's just something I've been trying to get used to. I think I've gotten there, but I'm almost there. But people from New England or north of Colorado, where they've dealt with harsher winters, or maybe even the Midwest, they come to Denver for more mild winters, and they can truly appreciate hey, I kind of like it here in Denver during the wintertime versus my hometown. So it's all about perspective here. Having a snow day is fun every once in a while, especially if you're on vacation where you're taking a week out to go out to the mountains. But having it 3 to 4 days a week for 4 to 5 months at a time, sometimes it just weighs down on your mind. By the time February hits and all the holidays are over and it loses that romantic feeling, I'm sort of over it. But nonetheless, it's just something you gotta get used to. If you can survive the winter, then I think you'll do fine here in Denver. Another thing to survive, number 2 on my list, is if you have bad allergies, then maybe you're not gonna have a good time here, especially if you're allergic to dogs. Main reason why I bring that up is because Denver is the #1 city for dog lovers according to Forbes. Forbes Advisor ranks Colorado as the #1 state of all the states to have the most dedicated dog lovers. Colorado dog owners are second most likely in the nation to move from an apartment to a house. And Colorado is home to the 4th highest percentage of dog owners in the nation that would cater to their dog's needs and work on a tighter budget for themselves just for their dog. And I myself am a dog owner here, and I see this happen all the time. So if you have a strong allergy to dogs, I would just be more wary to breweries or restaurants that have dog-friendly patios or things like that. They're not everywhere, but it's just something to consider. And while we're on the topic of allergies, pollen can be an issue, although it's not that crazy compared to other places that have a lot more vegetation, but it is here, and it's mainly spread around because of the high winds that can happen here in Denver. Although we have mountains to the west, over in the east we have a lot more plains and flatlands going all the way to Kansas, so a lot of those winds can pick up as it goes from east to west. We could get some pretty strong gusts of wind up to 40 miles per hour, and that can be really detrimental, especially during the wildfire season, like late summer to maybe fall timelines. So like I said, if you don't have a super strong allergy to dogs or pollen, I think you're going to be fine here as long as you can tolerate that for a little bit, especially with it being so seasonal. Then I think you're still going to have a good time here in Denver. On to number 3 on the things you need to survive here in Denver, Colorado is the higher home prices and just higher cost of living here in general. And even though I'm saying all these things that are cons about Denver, there's still a whole bunch of people flocking here and taking advantage of the wonderful lifestyle here. And with a lot of people coming into the States, the inventory is much lower, thus the demand is higher, which increases prices. As of the middle of 2023, at the time of this recording, the median home price in the greater Denver area is approximately $600,000. Comparatively to the median home price to the nation is approximately $435,000 to $440,000. And that's about an 18% increase from the rest of the nation. Now, at the time of this recording, especially in the middle of July, I've been working with a lot of clients that have been looking towards like condos or apartments around that $300,000 to $500,000 range, 1 bed or 2 bed, 1 bath or 2 bed, 2 bath. And inventory is slightly increasing over time, which is pretty interesting. I think it's mainly because sellers that want to move are more dedicated to, and I've been getting a lot of requests from those seller agents saying like, hey, let's work something out, just put in an offer, we're willing to work with you. My buyers are getting some solid discounts, especially with 2-1 buy downs or closing cost coverage from the sellers through my negotiation with them. And if you're curious what a 2-1 buy down is or don't understand what the whole process is like buying here in Denver, I'm a licensed broker here and feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is down below. I would love to help you out. And con number 4, in my opinion, if you want to survive here in Denver, you gotta know where to find food. And coming from San Diego, California, I was surrounded by all these different cultures, cuisines, and different types of food growing up. Chances are, if you were to go out in San Diego and just picked a random restaurant, I'd say you have an 80% chance of finding a pretty good spot to eat. And countering that with Denver, Colorado, I would say that percentage decreases to like 40%. And a lot of people poo-poo the Denver scene. It's mainly because the people that have stayed here longer than, let's say, 10 years are not accustomed to the new food trucks, the new restaurants, and maybe they're just so used to Denver in the past. But also those people that don't really like the food scene, just maybe they don't go out much or just don't know where to look. And if you're looking for something good, a good place to start is the food truck scene, and expect to pay a little bit extra money for that really good food. And I'm always in a pickle of wanting to support a small business and getting good food, but having to pay that extra dollar versus going to a brick and mortar chain where it's okay food, but it definitely fits my budget. Every once in a while is good, and it's great to support the local economy, but if you do it a little bit too often, it's definitely gonna hurt your sustainability and your wallet. So if you're a millennial like myself or a Gen Zer that really enjoys food and you're a foodie, definitely go check it out, but make sure you do your research. Or you can check out the video that I made a couple weeks ago called The Ultimate Food Guide here in Denver. It's 30 minutes long with everything you need from best Italian food, best breakfast, date nights, drinks, coffee, and all that good stuff. I just did the work for you, so you're welcome. Number 5 on the list of things you have to survive through here in Denver is the altitude. Yes, it's definitely a thing here, and you have to get used to it because there's no way you can move a whole city down to a lower elevation. The air is thin, and when you go over to the mountains, you are going to be experiencing a lot less oxygen in the air, so you're huffing and puffing even when you go upstairs, and I know I did, and I'm a runner. Lotion and chapstick are always locked and loaded over in my car and in my house just because my hands feel really dry all the time. And now at this new altitude, you have baking with a new twist in it. So I know with me, when I bake brownies or cookies or whatever it is, I have to follow a recipe and now put extra flour to accommodate for the lower oxygen. I'm like, dude, I have a hard time just following a recipe. I just want to bake some cookies. And yes, we are closer to the sun. And with that closeness to the sun, you're going to have a thinner atmosphere. So it's just going to feel like the sun is radiating its heat on you. However, the shade is going to feel that much better if you can find it. And as a consolation, if you love training or have an active lifestyle, being up here in the Mile High City is very attractive, especially if you want to work out or train at higher altitudes. Get used to the lower oxygen so that when you run a race at sea level, you're gonna feel like a god. And number 6 on the things that you have to be prepared for and survive through here in Denver is that the public transportation is pretty lackluster. So I prefer walking and running. And a lot of my home buying clients, they don't want to be so centered around their car. And a lot of my investor clients also agree with that, where they're looking for places that have that walkability that also brings in the desirability from renters. And a lot of people can agree with me here in the Denver area that the desire to get rid of their car is very prevalent here in Denver. It's just, how do we get there from here? And I feel like the Denver popularity has grown so quickly and it's exploded that the infrastructure is merely just trying to catch up to it. So sadly, Denver does not deliver. The light rail system is not that comprehensive. Buses are very limited to downtown Denver, and there's not too many bike lanes. And if you were to bike, everything's so spread apart. There are always talks about improving the infrastructure, but I'll believe it when I see it. So when you do move here, or if you're looking to buy your first property here and you're just renting right now, just be very conscious of where you purchased that property. I mean, if it is something that you're very conscious of and you want that walkability, then yeah, talk to me as far as finding public transportation, that bikeability, or even walkability. However, I pretty much drive every day, especially doing showings for my clients or looking at other homes. So it's not that bad, and at least the highways are not as traffic congested compared to California. And I know I'm setting a really high bar there, but me coming from there, it's definitely a lot easier or a lot more manageable than the California scene. Just be prepared for rush hour. I mean, it's not that crazy. So like I said earlier, Denver's growth in popularity and economics is just exploding here. And with a lot of people coming into the Denver scene, there's just a lot more demand, and I am still looking to pick up investment properties here in Denver. I'm a huge believer myself. So if you can live with these 6 things, I totally think that you're gonna enjoy yourself here in the Denver area. And it sounds like a lot of these things that I mentioned are just seasonal, and if you can pass through that, the rest of the year sounds great. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.